Khoisan, good evening, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world. And one of the first videos I put up on my channel, as someone who loves history and studies history, was a video which spelt out why the Khoisan, the Khoi and the San, the Hottentots and the Bushmen, had their land invaded from the north by the Bantu and Nguni races. And that is, there's no question about that. And what's now happening in South Africa is history is being distorted to suggest that these same invaders of the Khoisan land, the Bantu and Nguni people, which represent the Zulu, the Xhosa, and all the other different little tribes that are splintered from it, were the original landowners. They weren't. So when you talk about it, having land stolen from you, the land was stolen from the Khoisan people. Let's get that historically correct. This ANC government are a bunch of pretenders. They were not the original landowners in South Africa. They were so brutal. When they came through into KwaZulu-Natal, they literally wiped out or exterminated the Khoisan people. That's what they did. As the Xhosa went further south, as a group, they took in some Khoi and San women as like breeding matter. And in fact, it's interesting because Nelson Mandela, he actually has Khoisan ancestry as a result of the policy of the Xhosas down in the what's now the Eastern Cape. And I'm going to attach a PDF document below this video, which is very, very interesting. Now look, I'm not going to get involved in the argument here. I'm just putting the information out there. King Kubalha, Cornelius III, claims to be the rightful king of the royal house of the Khoisan nation and the voice of the Khoisan nation. And what he's doing in the document that's attached is he's trying to put forward his case for a new secession or a separate state called Good Hope. And look, I think like so many of these other secessionist ideas, it's got some very interesting principles and arguments that support it. But I think the ANC government will make sure that it never happens. But I just want to tell you one historical fact, make it very clear, that the Bantu and Nguni people who represent the ANC and parties like the EFF and the BLF, they invaded the Khoisan territory. They're invaders, no different to the settlers who invaded at Cape Town. For the Bantu and Nguni people to suggest that they somehow are the rightful owners and they had land stolen off them, it's, in a word, bullshit. But that's the story they're trying to peddle. So this document needs to be out there. It needs to be looked at. I'm not saying it's the right story, but this guy has got an argument. Now, we spoke to a Karana guy recently who said that, hey, the Karana are the first people, the Aboriginal people in South Africa. And they are. They're one of the first people in South Africa. So when it comes to expropriation of land without compensation, if there's any community that really has a legitimate reason for doing that, it's not this ring-in pretender ANC government that have totally screwed up what was a very stable country pre-1994. It's the Khoisan and the Karana people. They're the ones who should be fighting out as to where they have their original land. And I'll read you just a very short part of this PDF that I'll attach here so you can actually read it for yourself. And it reads as follows. I, King Kubaha Cornelius III, rightful king of the royal house of the Khoisan nation and the voice of the Khoisan nation, the first nation and only indigenous people to Southern Africa, secede the land of the Western Cape, Northern Cape and Eastern Cape up until the Fish River into a new country called Good Hope. Under the treaty and in a binding agreement for power sharing in the new government with the Yurokana Nation, Afrikaner Nation and the Coloured Nation in convention assembled on the 24th day of September AD 2017, declared that the frequent violations of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa by the government and its encroachments upon the reserved rights of the people fully justified these provinces in then withdrawing from the Republic and declare a qualified right to remedial secession, in our case of gross violations of human rights of all our said nation's peoples. In deference to the opinions and wish of other provinces, we forbore at this time to exercise this under right of the International African Union and United Nations laws. Now, this is a very interesting argument because you've got to understand that the Zulu people under the king have their own trust with a huge amount of land, which is basically falling under the ownership of that trust under the king, the Zulu king. And with the expropriation of land without compensation, the Zulu king is really, he's heart full, and he's taking the government to court because he says you can't change this, you can't take away this land from the Zulu kingdom. And here on the other side, in the Cape area, you've got someone claiming to be the king of the Khoisan. And I'm not going to say whether he is or whether he's not. I'm not going to get involved in that argument. But the argument is that the ANC government and the Bantu and Nguni people are pretenders. They never were the first inhabitants, human inhabitants in Southern Africa. It's quite simple. Where the Zulu king is claiming the land under his trust, that was land stolen from the Khoisan. If you look at the original land inhabitants. And what this Khoisan king is doing, if he has the legitimacy, he has every right to suggest that this ANC government, with their hocus-pocus expropriation of land without compensation, and their suggestion that the white people came through and stole their land from them, is a load of BS, plain and simple. I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to link the PDF down below. You can read it. You can make your own decisions. Put your comments up. It's quite a lengthy document, but it's a very, very interesting document because this ANC government using white man's parliament. Remember how they disrespect and call it white monopoly capitalism and all this sort of stuff? But they're using white man's parliament to try and steal the land off the Khoisan people. And there's no question that the Khoisan people were the original landowners in South Africa, not this pretenders, not the ANC, not their people. All right, guys, please remember to subscribe to be kept informed. Ring the bell for the updates. Please like this video. And above all, have a safe day. Bye for now.